This call is now being recorded.
So in the previous lecture, we have started with the module 5, that is hydrology. In that we have discussed the concept of hydrology, various terms related to hydrology, hydrologic cycle. Then in hydrologic cycle, we discussed about precipitation, how to measure rainfall or precipitation, and how to represent the data of rainfall. So this part has been covered in the previous class, and we have discussed some numericals on estimation of average rainfall by using say arithmetic average method, then Thiessen polygon method and isohytal method. So till this part we have covered. Now coming to the next part of the hydrologic cycle is say runoff. So that part we are going to discuss today. So related to runoff, these are the contents that we are going to discuss about runoff. So definition, portion of runoff, what is the runoff process, what is meant by surface runoff. So basically there is a difference between runoff and surface runoff. What is that difference that we are going to discuss. Then the various factors affecting runoff, what is meant by runoff cycle, conditions of runoff cycle and the entire summary of rainfall runoff process. So, so as to simulate, say, rainfall runoff process, certain softwares can be used and equations can be developed so as to give the response of runoff based on the data of rainfall. So you can derive a relationship or say derive an equation which will give the response for the data that you have entered for a rainfall. So for this, say any data related to hydrologic and meteorologic data, for modeling any catchment so as to study its response. So if precipitation occurs or if rainfall occurs, then that particular river catchment, how it will respond. So what will be the total evaporation from that area, what is the transpiration, that is say absorption and evaporation by vegetal cover, what is the infiltration loss, how much water is being lost by percolation, and ultimately what will be the net available water flowing on the ground, that is runoff. So to give all this part of hydrologic cycle or elements of a particular hydrologic cycle that can be simulated in a model, say a numerical model that you can develop. So for that, for using any software as such, first we need to understand the basic concepts related to any software that you are going to handle, right? So definition of runoff, how to define runoff is, I hope the screen is visible to you. Yes? Okay. So the screen is not visible. So you kindly pin to your screen where I am sharing you the slides particularly. So if you pin that to your screen, probably you may get the PPT. Okay, I will again share the screen. As some of you have So runoff can be defined as the portion of the precipitation or rainfall that makes its way towards the river or ocean. So any water that is flowing on the ground, which is a portion of rainfall, ultimately that will flow towards the natural drainage, natural river, lake or oceans which are available. So that part is termed as surface or subsurface flow. So the portion which is not absorbed by deep strata, right? So only on overland flow, the water which is flowing, that is termed as runoff. Runoff occurs only when the rate of precipitation exceeds the rate at which the water may infiltrate into the soil. Now this is very important to understand what is meant by runoff. So runoff occurs only when the rate of precipitation exceeds the rate at which the water may infiltrate into the soil. Let this rate of infiltration is I and rate of precipitation being say F, we will say. Okay. So when the rainfall intensity F is greater than infiltration capacity or infiltration rate of soil, then only the runoff occurs. And when say F is less than I, in that case, the entire rainfall will be absorbed by the strata. Right? For example, if say rainfall intensity is 10 mm per hour, right? Whereas I is equal to 8 mm per hour. So in this case, what will happen? Being F as 10 mm per hour, which is greater than I, there will be runoff which can occur. If reverse is the case, if F is equal to 8 mm per hour and I, rainfall, say infiltration intensity is 10 mm per hour, in that case, already there is a, say, deficiency in the soil. So the soil will have the capacity to retain the water to a rate of 2 mm per hour still. So when the rainfall exceeds the infiltration capacity of the soil, then only the runoff will occur. Then only the excess water will be available on the soil, right? So for understanding this simple concept, you can say take an example of bread, which is porous in nature. If you try to pour some water or any liquid on that porous media, for example bread, if slightly you will spread it on that, that entire liquid will get absorbed by the bread. If you continuously go on increasing the content that you are pouring on that, the time instant which will come as the rate at which you are pouring the liquid on that media will exceed its capacity to retain in that pores, then only it will flow out of the media or it will be available as it is through that system. So that is termed as runoff. Now the various portions of runoff or parts of runoff can be defined as, say, divided as surface runoff, which is flowing above the surface, groundwater flow. So in the top layer of soil, some part of water will get absorbed and it will be joining to the groundwater. So that runoff will be groundwater flow. And the third part of the runoff in which direct precipitation over the river or stream. So out of this, the direct precipitation, this portion is generally negligible or the content for this is very small. Therefore, it can be neglected. Now the runoff process. So when rainfall occurs, a part of the rainfall or the precipitation is intercepted by vegetation. So the vegetal cover, trees, plants will absorb some portion of rainfall. Some part of the water or rainfall is stored in the depression, say ditches, on the ground surface known as depression storages, from which the water will slowly either infiltrate or evaporate. So there two possibilities can be there. On small depressions or ditches, undulations on the ground, water will get stored, and from the storage, depression storage, water may either evaporate or it may infiltrate into the soil. Some part of the rainfall is absorbed by the soil, so it will be retained in the pores of the soil. So this absorbed soil, say absorbed water in the soil, that amount depends upon the soil moisture condition at the time of percolation. If the soil is in dry state and at that time if the rainfall occurs, so the absorption by the soil will be more, right? Generally, during the first rainfall, more water will get absorbed. If two or three rainfall have been continued, in that case, some of the water has been utilized for, say, replenishing the soil moisture deficiency. So soil from the dry state will turn to saturated state or moist to saturated state. When the soil is either moist to some extent or partially saturated, in that case, the absorption loss is considerably less compared to the dry state. So you have studied the soil and its three-phase system: soil in dry state, soil in saturated state, and soil, or say moist state of soil. So soil solids, air voids, then water which is there inside the soil, all this part you are knowing. So related to that, if the soil is in the dry state, when the rainfall occurs in that condition, more amount of water will get absorbed by the soil, and if in case the soil is considerably moist or certain moisture is available inside the soil, then the absorption loss will be less. Now if the rain continues further, if the rainfall is occurring further, the water will start infiltrating or percolating to the water table. So the water will continuously infiltrate into the soil and it will slowly join to the water table. And if the rate of rainfall or the rate at which the water is reaching to the ground exceeds the infiltration rate, resulting the surface detention. So when the rainfall intensity or the rate at which the rain is falling that exceeds the infiltration capacity of soil, then only the water will be stored in the detention, say depressions, and surface detention will occur. Some part of water will be available as storage in the detentions. This water flow overland and joins the river, lakes, streams, oceans, etc. And this is known as surface runoff, right? So all the undulations or ditches will be completely filled and then the water will flow. So one can say runoff as surface runoff. Why? Say the surface runoff is the important factor for maximum flow to be available in the river or stream. Whereas the groundwater flow is important for minimum flow. So if large amount of water will get absorbed by the soil and it is reaching to the groundwater, then the surface flow which is available, that will be the minimum flow. Then direct precipitation over the river or stream is negligible, being the content or quantity as small one. So for peak flow, we are generally concerned with the surface runoff. What we will do, we will study or we will record the rainfall data. From that, we will abstract or say deduct the losses. So the net quantity of water which is flowing on the ground, the effective runoff, that is more concerned for calculating the volume of water which is available or quantity which is available in the streams or rivers. So therefore, one can say runoff as surface runoff. Right? So the various factors affecting runoff. So for this, the characteristics of soil, characteristics of say related to meteorology, catchment characteristics, all those we have to study. So the factors affecting runoff are precipitation characteristics, the manner or say the form in which precipitation is occurring, shape and size of the catchment, topography, geological characteristics, meteorological characteristics, character of the catchment surface and the storage characteristics. We'll discuss all these factors one by one. So first one is precipitation characteristics. Say one can say directly as the runoff directly dependent on the rainfall or precipitation. So if more the rainfall, more will be runoff, and less the rainfall, less will be runoff. If the rainfall is occurring as very intense storms, so very intense storms or uh, so as to understand this, say during a short span of time, more water or rainfall is more. Then what will happen? More runoff will be available. If reverse is the case, say a light showers of rain is falling over a long duration. In that case, being the rainfall intensity less than the infiltration capacity of soil, the water is falling at a slower rate and the soil has a capacity to retain that and percolate that. So therefore, in the case of light showers, whatever may be the rainfall is occurring entirely will get absorbed and percolated. So therefore, no runoff will be available as such or less runoff will be there. So the precipitation characteristics, it is one of the most important factor for runoff. Runoff depends on the type of storm, whether it is orthographic, cyclonic, or which type of precipitation is occurring, and its duration for how much time it is falling, whether say small duration or long duration precipitation is occurring, which causes the rainfall. Runoff depends on the intensity of rainfall, whether light showers are there or whether high intense storms are falling. More the rainfall directly means that more will be the runoff that can be obtained. Now, if the rainfall intensity is very less and it rains as like light showers, then much of the water will be lost in the form of infiltration and absorption as well as evaporation, which will result in less runoff. If the precipitation is in the form of snowfall, then also the runoff will be less. As snowfall is there, it will not flow very easily. Therefore, the runoff will be less. Then size and shape of catchment. The runoff depends upon size, shape and the location of the catchment. Generally, more rainfall on a smaller area resulting in greater runoff. So the area on which rain is falling is smaller, but the quantity which it receives is more, or the intensity with which the rain is falling is more. Therefore, it will result in the greater runoff. Less runoff in large catchments because due to uniform rainfall over the entire catchment area, the rainfall is distributed uniformly over the broad area. In that case, less runoff will be obtained. Thus, only a few tributaries of the stream feed water to the mainstream during a particular storm. So if on a widespread area, on a larger area, rainfall is occurring but with a uniform intensity, the tributaries will join the mainstream in intervals. Therefore, the runoff that will be obtained in the larger catchment areas will be less. Now, related to types of catchment, there are two types of catchment: fan-shaped catchment and fern leaf-shaped catchment. So, fan-shaped catchment, wherein the tributaries are approximately at an equal distance from the mainstream. So, the water from every such tributary will join to the outlet approximately at the same time. So all the tributaries approximately of the same size, tributaries of the same size, it means that those are at the equal distance particularly. So gives greater runoff. The reason is the peak flood from the tributaries is likely to reach the mainstream approximately at the same time. So all of these tributaries are contributing to the mainstream. Those are joining to the mainstream at the same time, same approach time. Therefore, the peak flood will be more. In the other case, that is in fern leaf shaped catchment. If suppose this fan shaped catchment and fern shaped catchment areas are same, right? So catchment area is same but shape is different. In that case, what will happen? If same rainfall is occurring on these two types of catchment, in fan shaped catchment, all the tributaries will join the mainstream at the same time. In fern shaped catchment, the tributaries are of unequal length, or those are at different distances. So therefore, say part of tributaries will join at one time instance, say T1. Others are at another, say more time will be required for those to join, and the water will be available at this outlet at some other time, or more time will be required for this water to reach up to this outlet, right? So there will be segmental flow which is there in fern leaf catchment. Therefore, peak flow in this type of fern leaf catchment is reduced. Whereas in fan shaped catchment, all of these are at equal distance, all the tributaries are at equal distance, contributing the water to the outlet at the same time. Therefore, peak flood will be more. So here the tributaries are at unequal distances, the lengths are unequal, therefore their contribution is not uniform, or the contribution may not be at the same time. So therefore the peak flood intensity is much reduced in this fern leaf shaped catchment. The tributaries are generally of different lengths, as I said, and meet the mainstream at the regular interval or at batches. Such a narrow catchment, the peak flood intensity is reduced since the discharges are likely to be distributed over a long period of time. So for one batch, or say the nearer tributaries will drain out very easily and quickly to the stream, whereas the farthest distance or the other tributaries will require more time to get joined to the outlet. Therefore, the peak flood will be divided over a long period of time, and the peak rainfall, peak intensity of flood will get reduced. The next one is topography, the nature or say characteristic of the soil cover, we can say. Then topography, runoff depends on surface smoothness and slope. If the slope is very steep, then the flow will be quick and less evaporation and absorption losses, resulting it in greater runoff. Right? And if the slope is very flat, in that case, more water will be retained on the ground, right? Whereas it will permit for evaporation losses and absorption losses and infiltration losses. When the slope is steep, the water will quickly drain out and it will join to the stream. So therefore, evaporation and absorption losses are less in case of steeper slope terrain, and in case of flat terrain, losses are more as the water is retained on the flat topography. If the catchment is in mountainous area and that too the rain is falling on the windward side, in that case more rainfall will occur on that side, and on the leeward side there will not be any, say, water or rainfall occurring. So on, say, if this is the windward side, so here more precipitation will be occurring, and on this leeward side, on the opposite side of the mountain, there will be negligible amount of rainfall that will occur, right? Then geological characteristics related to soil nature. So this is also one of the important factor affecting runoff. It includes the type of surface soil, type of subsoil, type of rock and their permeability characteristics. Whether the soil has ability to hold the water, to allow the water to pass through it or not, that is related to permeability. If the soil and subsoil is porous, if cavities are there, if pores are there in soil and subsoil, seepage will be more, resulting in reduction in the peak flow. So the maximum flow will get reduced as the losses are more. If the surface is rocky, then absorption will be nil, then ultimately it will result in more runoff, right? Say one thing you need to understand is rainfall, if we treat it as a constant, then there will be only the effect of losses. If losses are more, runoff available will be less. If losses are less, in turn, it will give more runoff as a result. If rocks have fissures or cracks in that, which are porous in nature and have lava funnels in that, water will be lost, and this will result in the less runoff. So whenever there are losses, leakages, ultimately that will result in reduced peak and less runoff. Then meteorological characteristics, meteorology that is related to atmospheric terms, temperature, wind, humidity, etc. So runoff may also get affected by these meteorological characteristics like temperature, wind, humidity. If the temperature is low or cold and the ground is saturated, the soil is saturated, then the runoff will be greater. Why? Say evaporation loss will get reduced being the temperature colder and the ground is saturated, therefore the absorption loss will become less, therefore runoff will be more. If the temperature is high and greater wind velocity give the rise to greater evaporation loss, once the loss is more, then ultimately the runoff will going to be less. Then character of the catchment surface. The runoff depends upon the surface conditions like whether it is drained or undrained, natural or cultivated. If the surface has no natural drainage, then absorption loss will be more. So there has to be some sort of slope or drainage for the soil so that it will get quick access to the nearby stream or river. If more area of the catchment is cultivated under, say, more area is the cropped land under agriculture, in that case, less runoff will be resulted. Vegetal cover reduces the runoff in smaller storms, and if no vegetal cover is there, then more runoff will be observed. Storage characteristics, the artificial storages such as dams, weirs, etc. and natural storages such as lakes, ponds, etc. tend to reduce the peak flow. So these storages will hold some water in their storages and ultimately the water which will be flowing further will be reduced. They also give rise to greater evaporation losses as the water is stored in standstill position which is exposed to atmosphere, so easily that water, some amount of that water will get evaporated. Now coming to the part of runoff cycle, which is basically a part of hydrological cycle itself. So this is the part between the precipitation from the atmosphere over the land areas and its subsequent discharge through the streams or channel. So from the instant the rain which is falling to it reach that water will reach to the nearby stream or lake. Right? Then conditions of runoff cycle. So there can be four distinct conditions or phases of the runoff cycle. First one is at the end of dry period, so immediately after summer season. Then shortly after beginning the rainfall, immediately say during first or second rain, what will happen to the runoff. Then near the end of isolated heavy storm, so between the heavy peaks of flow and after the end of rainfall. Once the entire rainfall recedes or rainfall ceases, stops, what will happen to the runoff, right? So at the end of dry period and just beginning of the heavy rainfall, all the surface and channel storages gets depleted. Those are dried because of the heavy summer or high temperatures, except from the lakes, rivers, reservoirs and ponds where some water may be available. The only source of stream flow is the groundwater flow which is entering into the channel. So when, if this is the cross section of a river that we will plot it, right? So what will happen? This is the condition that I will draw it for the monsoon, right? So when the rainfall is there, it has been reached to its peak, highly raining, and the river is flowing to its full capacity, right? And the groundwater is somewhere here nearby, right? Then what will happen in this case? The water level in the river is more than the groundwater. So therefore, the river water will find its way to join and to recharge the groundwater nearby. Fine. Now, what will happen in the critical dry period? I will draw some other small figure over here. Right. So, during the dry period, if suppose the water level in the river has been reduced to its critical level, right? So minimum water is available in the river and the groundwater is at an say average level like this. Now because of the elevation differences in this water levels, instead of the water from the river going to the groundwater, the higher water level which is groundwater is flowing into the river water. So during the dry period, the only source of stream flow in the river is the groundwater which is contributing to the flow, right? So during dry season, groundwater will flow towards the river, and in the monsoon or in the peak seasons, the water from the river will be recharging to the nearby groundwater. Fine. So this you have to keep it in mind. This is the concept related to influent river and effluent river. So the same river is acting two ways, one in the peak season and one in the driest season. So shortly after beginning of rainfall, that is the second condition of the runoff cycle is So shortly after beginning the rainfall and before the interception depression storages have been satisfied, the stream flow intercepted by the vegetation and the buildings can't contribute to runoff. So some part of water will get absorbed or intercepted by these elements like vegetation, cover and buildings. So this part immediately do not contribute to the runoff. So in the initial stages, this will be the interception loss of rainfall. This intercepted water is eventually either uh, returned to the atmosphere by evaporation. So in the initial stages, when the temperature is still considerably high, but the rainfall is occurring, the intercepted water will directly evaporate back to the atmosphere. So at this stage, a part of precipitation directly falling on the stream, which gives an immediate increment to the stream flow. Only that is the source when the water is falling on the river, on the water body, that will enhance the water level only. No other water is falling from the nearby area and joining to that stream, right? Then near the end of isolated heavy rainfall, after many hours of heavy rainfall, virtually when all the losses have been satisfied, all the soil moisture deficiency has been completely satisfied, requirement of interception has been completely filled up, then only the runoff will be observed. The soil moisture deficiency will also get satisfied to a considerable extent after the isolated heavy rainfall. After this, the infiltration rate has been exhausted completely, all the pores have been completely filled up, then the infiltration rate has become nearly the minimum one or zero. Similarly, the flow into the field depression is essentially balanced by overland flow and infiltration. So the storage which is required for natural as well as artificial storages, that will be completely filled up or fulfilled by the overland flow or the water which is flowing and joining to that and the infiltration losses. Thus, at this stage, the overland flow mainly contribute to the stream flow or the water which is flowing in the river. Reason for that is the overland flow. Water is flowing from one part to the, it will join to the river. Subsurface flow also contributes to the stream flow, or say groundwater flow will also contribute to the stream flow. After the end of rainfall, when the rain and overland flow ceases or stops, the stream flow consists only of base flow or the groundwater which is contributing to the river water. Evaporation takes place quite from soil moisture. So nearby soil will try to evaporate some of the moisture as no rainfall is further continuing. Transpiration also takes place from the vegetative cover. This transpiration it means that evaporation from the leaves from the vegetal cover. Water from depression storages also continues to infiltrate. Also, the gravity water still not drained up to the water table continues its downward journey to join the water table. Now, so as to summarize the entire rainfall runoff process, right from beginning, say when the rain starts falling, it is first of all intercepted by the obstructions like buildings, trees and any other objects which prevent it from reaching directly to the ground. So before it reaches intermediately, it will be absorbed by these elements, say like buildings, trees, etc. This quantity is also known as rainfall interception, right? Since the quantity is generally very small, it is not of much importance for intense storms. But in case of lighter showers or lighter rains, large portion of that will be disposed of in the interception loss itself. The difference between the total rainfall and that which is intercepted is called as ground rainfall, or the effective rainfall which is reaching to the ground. When the rainfall rate exceeds the infiltration rate, right? So F is greater than infiltration rate I, water will start reaching to the ground and infiltration into the subsoil will start. The maximum rate at which the soil in a given condition can absorb the water is known as its capacity to infiltrate water, that is infiltration capacity. The excess rainwater, after all these abstractions, after all these losses, it will get collected into innumerable small and large depressions, ditches existing in that basin, filling them to their overflow levels or filling them completely. This quantity is known as depression storages. So whenever there are ditches, depressions, to completely get filled up, the water which is utilized is the depression storage. All the storage in is either evaporated or used by vegetation or latter infiltrates into the soil. None of this part will appear as the surface runoff. So this depression storage or any other infiltration and absorption does not contribute to direct surface runoff. In say if after the depression storage is filled, the rainfall intensity, you can say P or F, anything that you can use. If rainfall intensity further continues to exceed the infiltration capacity of soil, the difference appears as the rainfall excess, right? So the water which is falling in excess quantity, that of infiltration capacity. So we have given the example of 10 mm per hour as the rainfall intensity and infiltration capacity as 8. So the excess of 2 mm per hour which is there, that will be available as rainfall excess, which initially accumulates on the ground as surface detention, and then it will flow like a overland flow on the basin surface before entering to the stream channel. The water that reaches the stream channel of a basin in this manner is called as surface runoff or direct runoff. The surface runoff can therefore occur only from those storms which can contribute to excess rainfall. Whenever rainfall intensity is greater than infiltration capacity, then only the surface runoff can happen, or and are simply not dissipated in fulfilling the interception, depression, storage and infiltration needs of the basin. So the formula is given, equation has been written over here for excess rainfall. So excess rainfall is equal to rainfall which is falling from the atmosphere minus interception. So the content from this either may get evaporated back to the atmosphere from the buildings and trees. Then depression storages, the small number of ditches which are there, so as to get completely filled up, that the storage, the water which is required is depression storage, and infiltration, water which is entering into the ground. The sum total of interception and depression storage for a basin is usually called initial loss or basin loss or initial basin recharge. So interception loss and depression storage, which will be there during the initial stages, this will be initial loss or basin loss, initial basin recharge, this can be termed. So excess rainfall can therefore be represented as rainfall minus initial basin loss or initial basin recharge minus infiltration. So the rainfall which is reaching to the ground, the total amount minus loss in terms of initial basin recharge and the water which is lost in terms of infiltration flowing into the ground. The sum total of initial basin loss and infiltration is called potential infiltration. Since for intense rain, the initial loss is very small compared to the excess rain or intensity of rain, it is usually ignored. Initial loss we can generally ignore in the hydrological analysis of such heavy intense rainfalls, or it's considered to be included in the infiltration itself. So thus the rainfall excess can again be given as excess rainfall is equal to rainfall minus potential infiltration itself. So this potential infiltration itself consists of initial basin recharge like depression storages and loss in terms of infiltration also. The rain that falls in the beginning of a storm before the depression storage is completely filled is called as the initial rain. So that initial rain is even not capable of satisfying the depression storages. And the rain that falls near the end of the storm at a rate less than the infiltration capacity. So after the entire say season of rainfall, the rain which falls after the peak but at a reduced rate compared to infiltration capacity of soil, that is termed as residual rain. So the soil being in the moist state or completely saturated state, absorption losses in this residual rain type will be less. Therefore, there the runoff will again be going to be more. The intervening period is net supply interval. The infiltration occurring after the net supply interval is called the residual infiltration. So the two terms runoff and surface runoff are two different terms and should not be confused. So what is the basic difference between these? Runoff or discharge or stream flow includes all the water flowing in the stream channel at a given section, right? So some part of water from the groundwater or base flow will join to the stream. Some of the overland flow will be available in the stream, and the direct precipitation which is occurring on the river, that will be again a part of runoff. So all these sorts of water which is joining and which is available as the stream flow, that is termed as runoff in total, whereas the surface runoff or direct runoff includes only the water that reaches to the stream without first percolating down to the water table, which is directly available, which is flowing on the ground surface, is termed as direct runoff. Now, yield of a drainage basin is same as the runoff, with the only difference that it is expressed over a long period in million meter cube per year or hectare meter per year likewise. Runoff is expressed as for say short periods, say meter cube per second or meter cube per hour. So runoff and yield are one and the same, but the time duration for which it is expressed is different. Runoff is expressed for short time, while the yield of drainage basin is expressed over a long period. Generally, annual runoff is termed as yield. So here the hydrograph has been tried to show in this. So the distinction you can see it over here. Say this upper portion is showing surface response and the green one is showing the base flow or groundwater inflow. So when the rainfall is occurring, the entire runoff is plotted in this way. So the discharge versus time is plotted. So total runoff is shown like this. Once we separate out the base flow, the upper portion will be only the surface runoff or direct runoff. So total hydrograph, out of which surface response is there, and we need to deduct the waste flow. One more figure indicating, say, hydrograph in this as well as with the hydrograph. So continuous process presented with discrete time. So in the time slots also it has been mentioned over here, and a continuous process. So this was related to runoff, and if you have any doubt or query related to today's discussion, you can post it in the chat box. Then we will have again a detailed discussion for that. Fine. So what is meant by runoff? Various factors affecting runoff, runoff cycle, and